What is the meaning of life? The human desire to fulfill some special existential purpose has existed throughout history. Enter Rick Sanchez, the alcoholic self-loathing partner to Morty Smith on the show Rick and Morty. Throughout the series, Rick is frequently referred to as the smartest man in the universe, having invented a flying spaceship and interdimensional travel. But his intelligence and knowledge that nothing in the universe matters leads to a deeply cynical worldview, where he drowns his existential dread in alcohol and reckless adventures, refusing to form meaningful attachments because he sees them as ultimately pointless. He is, like he describes himself, like a god. He has mastered the infinite, and he knows that in the grand scheme of things, everything is meaningless. Morty, who accompanies Rick on almost all his adventures, got eventually exposed to the same existential realization when he had to bury his own body from a different reality.
Nobody belongs anywhere. Everybody's gonna die. Come watch TV.
Rick and Morty show us that nobody is safe from an existential crisis. But despite the tragedy, it contains a comforting message. Why get depressed about existential meaning when life is full of stuff to enjoy? As Morty said, like watching TV together. This struggle with meaninglessness is central to the show. This is partly due to the sheer scale of Rick and Morty's exploits. Not only is there an enormous universe, but that universe has infinite dimensions, and those dimensions have infinite realities. This form of nihilism is liberating, which you could describe as uplifting cynicism. Yet, I don't believe they are the end point to the existential discovery, because it lacks one crucial piece of the puzzle. When I was a teenager, I came across the concept of optimistic nihilism. It was, indeed, liberating, because I realized that I can simply break all the societal chains by saying, F you, I don't care, I do what I want. Just like Rick Sanchez. But on the other side, this optimistic nihilism left me very quickly lost, confused, and empty. The general notion was always, have fun, just do what you like. Okay, I had fun, I did what I liked, now what? The existential void stuffed with fun is a bottomless pit. Happiness is a great side effect. When it comes, accept it gratefully, but it's fleeting and unpredictable. It's not something to aim at. If happiness is the purpose of life, what happens when you're unhappy? Then you're a failure, and perhaps a suicidal failure. Happiness is like cotton candy, it's just not doing the job. So, what in the hell is the solution then? If we weren't created for some special purpose, and if fun or happiness is not helping us to sustain us through phases of suffering, what can we do? In this case, some people fall prey to the bad kinds of nihilism. I mean that cynical, arrogant, rational, hyper-intelligent nihilism that throws the world away as if it's of little use. In my experience, these are the kind of people who think, it needs a certain level of intelligence to be as pessimistic and depressed as I am. And the ones who didn't get the memo that Rick Sanchez is part of the "you're missing the point of their characterization if you idolize them" starter pack. The price these pseudo-intellectual pessimists pay is evidently very high, and I think they are making a huge mistake, existentially and intellectually. In Douglas Adams's book, Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, the supercomputer Deep Thought was programmed to calculate the answer to the ultimate question of life, the universe, and everything. The calculation took 7.5 million years to end up with the answer, 42. The point Douglas Adams wanted to make is that the universe is the answer, and what we really need to figure out is what questions to ask about the answer, that is the universe. And the question is really the hard part. And if you properly frame the question, then the answer, relatively speaking, is easy. To ask the question about everything is a wrong frame. It's a useless frame. Meaning is not to be found in the infinite numbers of stars or galaxies or planets. It's not to be found in the material world. Yet it is right in front of you. You act as if things matter because they do, for you. If you are actively interacting with the world, meaning occurs. You can fight it, you can over-philosophize it, or you can simply embrace it. Meaning cannot be discovered by the passive observer. And that's why this pseudo-intellectual nihilism is so criminal. It forestalls effort. It essentially tells you, here is the answer before you make a discovery for yourself. And the answer is, nothing matters, yourself included. You quit the game before you started to play it. Even Rick can't escape this reality. The reality, that meaning simply occurs when you interact with the world.
If nothing matters, why would you do that for me?
I don't know, maybe you matter so little that I like you. Or maybe it makes you matter. Maybe I love you. Maybe something about your mother. Don't jump a gift shark in the mouth.
Despite the fact that he, at times, tries to convince us he doesn't care about his family is meaningful to him. He was born, he lived his youth, he got a child, he got grandchildren, and it simply means something to him, and he can't do anything about it. We cannot answer the question about the overarching existential reason for our existence. This can only be answered by somebody who is outside of the box, but we are inside the box. For the moment, we have to accept that there is no meaning, and if there is, we don't know it. Nor do I think we can authentically create meaning for ourselves. Meaning emerges organically. You can only discover meaning by interacting with the world. And I know that, in the face of an existential crisis, this is easier said than done. We are limited creatures, and this limitation creates suffering. It's little us against the infinite universe. It's brutal, it's dangerous, and we will die. But this limitation, this suffering, is our great gift. Why, you might ask? Because without limitation, there is no being. God is omniscient, omnipotent, and omnipresent. What does he lack? The answer is limitation. It speaks deeply to something about the central nature of existence. Without limitation, there is no being. In order to emphasize this point, let us play a quick game. You're ready? Okay, you move first. You obviously don't know what to do, because the limiting parameters of the game have not been defined. You are stunned by your infinite freedom, which leads to complete immobility. In the absence of serious constraint, there can be no choice, no freedom, no existence. Rick rose above the limitation. He got a taste of the infinite. But what did that do for him? You cannot find meaning in the infinite, only in the finite. Perhaps, instead of asking about the meaning of life, the universe, and everything, we should change the frame. How can I find a mode of being that justifies the suffering of life? As Douglas Adams said, the universe is the answer. The difficult thing is to find the right questions to ask. If this is your question, and you observe, reflect, and act in the world, you might discover an answer. Good luck.